Thought I couldn't breathe without you. I'm inhaling. Thought I couldn't see without your perfect vision. Thought I couldn't last without you, but I'm lasting. Thought that I would die without you, but I'm living. Thought that I would fail without you, but I'm on top. Thought it would be over, but now thought it won't stop. Thought that I would self-destruct, but I'm still here. Even in my years to come, I'm still gonna be here. I'm a survivor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone has had a great day. Welcome to the season premiere for season 2 of I Survived. I am so excited to be here with you. I am the host, Rita Green, and I'm excited about today's show because I think that it's going to impact a lot of lives. So if everybody could please share this video, you never know what people are going through and who needs to hear what's being said today. Our special guest today is Tiffany Ferguson, aka Swift Tiff. So we're going to talk about sexual assault and what she has gone through, what she survived. Welcome, Tiffany. Thank you so much for being here today. Uh-oh, we can't hear you. Okay, just bear with us while we're getting the little kinks worked out with her sound. But Tiffany is an amazing entrepreneur. She has survived some of life's roughest challenges, including sexual assault while she was a dancer and entertainer. And she's going to share all of the details. I don't want to give too much away, but her story is phenomenal. And where she is today, you just won't believe. I can't wait until she shares with you her testimony and her truth about how she survived sexual assault in the level and the manner that she did. So while we are waiting for her to come back on, let's talk a little bit about sexual assault and the importance of getting help and telling somebody. The sad truth of the matter is a lot of sexual assault happens in families. It happens, with strangers, and it goes unreported a lot of times because of fear, fear of who's going to look at me wrong, who's going to judge me, who's going to say anything about me. But I want to encourage people today not to allow people to victimize you when you're already the victim. So it's not your fault. You can get help. And it's something that's extremely important. So we want to share some education and light on that today. And at the end of the show, we'll offer you some resources on what you can do if you are in this situation, if you suspect somebody else is in a situation or a friend or loved one is dealing with this issue. We'll share some things that can be happening. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break and see if we can get the technical issues worked out with Tiffany. And we will be right back.
We have the power to heal. Amen. Our bodies have the power to do exactly what it was created to do. All we have to do is give it what it needs.
You can't tell me that there is a community with more ingenuity and innovation and talent. Can't make me believe it. I know it. I've seen it.
Very, very challenging, but yet fun. I had a great time, as you can see. So this was a great workout for me. Also, Dr. Joyce.
Okay, Dante. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Thought I couldn't breathe without you. I'm inhaling. Thought I couldn't see without your perfect vision. Thought I couldn't last without you, but I'm lasting. Thought that I would die without you, but I'm living. Thought that I would fall without you, but I'm on top. Thought it would be over, but now body wants to. Thought that I would self-destruct, but I'm still here. Even in my years to come, you still got me here. I'm a survivor.
Okay, thank you so much for your patience and welcome back. Again, our special guest today is Tiffany Ferguson, and she has survived sexual assault. Tiffany, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we can hear you now. Again, thank you to the listening audience for your patience with these technical difficulties. We can't control technology, we just have to work through it. So, Tiffany, welcome. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your story, a little about you, actually, your background, where you grew up, what was your life like? Just paint us a picture of what your family life was like coming up.
Growing up, I grew up in Kokomo, Indiana. I was actually the youngest child on my mother's side of three. So I have an older brother and an older sister. On my father's side, I'm the oldest child, and I have a younger brother.
Okay.
My um, I grew up in a two-parent home. My mother remarried. Well, she married my stepfather. My stepfather passed away when I was um, 9. Um, I had an average life. I come from factory workers. My parents were factory workers. Um, that's pretty much
Okay.
my.
So have you were raised in Kokomo? Did you stay in Indiana? Did you relocate? Like where did life take you?
Well, in my early 20s, I was like 27. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. How did
Um,
you like that?
I loved Atlanta. I still love
I
Atlanta.
did too.
It,
I did too.
yeah, Atlanta is my second home. My sister's 11 years older than me, so she actually lived there when I was a child, teenager. So I used to visit frequently.
Okay.
Um, so what? Fast forward to when I was 27, I moved to Atlanta. I had at that point in time, I had 4 children.
Uh-huh.
I worked for General Motors. That's what took me from Kokomo to Atlanta, Georgia. I transferred my job. In 2006, I took the buyout, and I was already a hairstylist by trade. So I have been a hairstylist since I was 19, licensed. Once I took the buyout, I actually um, was doing hair. I was in a plaza where it was a strip club on one side and you know a booming beauty salon on the other side, and we were kind of like our salon was kind of like in the middle. So the girls would frequently come in and mistake us for the other salon, and it kind of made me a little eager to figure out. Wait a minute, like I need to get those girls to come and sit in my chair. Needless to say, it was about 4 weeks into it um, that I realized we wouldn't be paid for about six weeks after the buyout. So with that, I decided I need to build a clientele. How am I gonna build a clientele and meet these girls? Because I was new to the area. I had been there not that long, maybe about a year and a half,
So you were
and
trying to build up your clientele. So you were like, because you saw all these girls going in and out, and of course, since it's a strip club, they need to get their hair done. So you figured, hey, let me try to make this money and invite them in.
exactly. But I had to meet the girls first.
Okay.
So basically what I ended up doing was I ended up going into the salon. I mean, not the salon, I'm sorry, into the strip club, and I did an amateur contest. And I won the
Okay.
amateur contest. And from the amateur contest, I was able to get my permit and start dancing, um, and meet the girls. The whole goal was I had to have a goal when I went in. I had a couple of friends that were already dancers, and
Hmm.
they were just like, "No, Tiffany, you can't do this." And I'm like, "Why not?" But they were like, "You have to have a plan." And that's,
Right.
so the plan was go in, meet girls, and build a clientele and grow my hair business. That was the ultimate goal was to do hair. That was one of my ultimate
So you
dreams
were
was to.
going in there to build your clientele, and somehow, in the midst of that transition, you ended up dancing.
Correct.
So tell me how that came about? You just walked in and was like, "Oh, I got this," or did they invite you in, or how did you start?
I did an amateur contest.
Oh, okay, okay. So you just walked in and participated in the contest and won.
Correct.
So you just showed out. Okay, got you. And then, so tell me what happened after that. So you win this contest, and so now what?
I won the contest. In
Mhm.
Atlanta, you have to have a permit. So I took that money that I won, and went and purchased my permit. And then I actually worked. I started to work.
Okay. And how was that? Like what transitions and what thought process did you have to go to or go through in order to stop, or did you continue to do hair?
Oh, I continue to do hair.
Okay.
So a day, for me would have been, let's say I work in a beauty salon from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. I would go home, get dressed. I'd be at the club by midnight because we
Hmm.
had to pay a tip in for every the shift started at 8, so I wouldn't make it till 4. I mean till 12. So my tip in would be $40 because it was $10 per hour you were late. And then I
Okay.
dance until 4 o'clock and go home and repeat it, every day. Or I really had a plan. My plan was if I worked 2 days, if I worked 2 days, I could have a day off. And then I worked 3 days and take a day off.
Okay. So what and during this process or during this time period, was it hard for you to start dancing? Had you ever considered it before? Was it something new for you? Was it scary? What were you thinking and feeling as you started to manage both jobs?
Great question. So in the beginning, I always looked at it was kind of cliche to dance.
Mhm.
Coming from Kokomo, Indiana, it was kind of cliche. You didn't dance, or you know, it was just something in my background or deep inside that I didn't feel like it was right. But I will say, as a child, like I used to watch Solid Gold and I used to like the Solid Gold dancers. Probably got in trouble plenty of times for dancing, on the floor like the Solid Gold dancers or whatever. But
Right.
um, it was a transition. You have to. Some people can do it. I'm speaking for myself. I couldn't just go in and be like, "Oh, I'm ready to dance." I would have to get myself together because I felt, and I'm not judging anyone, but I felt myself that it wasn't morally correct for me with my background.
Okay. So how did you justify it for yourself then? If it wasn't morally correct for your background, how did you bring yourself to terms with what you needed to do in order to make your plan happen?
I had kids and I had mouths to feed. So basically I did it. I made
Did what you
myself.
had to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was times that I would call one of my best friends and she would just help me with the pep talk because there was plenty of times I
Uh-huh.
sat out in the car before I went to work and was like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." And
Yeah.
but it took the pep talk, or it took um me to have a drink, or
Mhm.
at that moment in time smoke marijuana, whatever it was,
Yeah.
to calm my nerves, to get me to
Right.
go in and realize this is what I need to do in order to make sure that these ends meet. The main
Absolutely.
the
So,
main thing was my father had already passed away. So he passed away when I was 23.
Wow.
But it was still that time where my mother was still, my mother is still living. So I felt like I was so far away from home, you know, nobody will find out. That's
Right,
not what
right,
happened. That's not what
right.
happened. So, but once my mother did find out,
How did she find out?
my mother found out, my kid's cousin actually, my mother and my sister had came and visited me. I didn't work. I had taken a little hiatus. After I received my settlement package from General Motors, I took about, let's see, I received that in August. My mother came and visited in October, her and my older sister. I actually wasn't working for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, but someone had went back when my mother got home. My mother had called me and she said, Tiffany, what is this that I hear that you're dancing in a club?
Oh boy.
And I was like, and mind you, at this time, I was 27, 28 years old. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I was probably 29 then. But it's still, I still have to, the respect from my mother that I still felt like I did not want my mother to know that I was doing this.
No.
Why?
Right.
Because I felt like it was morally incorrect. Um, but in her eyes, but my mother was basically like, I said, well, mama, I did. I said, but I don't do it anymore. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
had did it and wasn't doing it anymore because I had took that break. And her exact words was, even if you are, it ain't nobody's business. Nobody's business for nobody to come back and tell.
Wow.
And when she said that, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders.
Yeah, I bet.
It really was. And then I felt like after that, if my mama knows,
It doesn't
I
matter.
don't owe nobody. Yeah,
Right,
I don't owe
right.
anybody else any explanation. But I
Yeah.
did hide it. You know, I hid it from my
Uh-huh.
mother, my kids. They were young at the time, so they really didn't know. Um, I really tried to hide it. But in Atlanta, that was a way. It wasn't just you know, I don't even know how to explain it without kind of being judgmental. It wasn't a certain, like, it wasn't just like they view a lot of dancers as prostitutes or how do I want to say it? Um, you know, just how you may view like a sex worker or however it is.
Uh-huh.
Reality is, no, I danced with girls that were in nursing school in the daytime. They danced at nighttime. I danced with teachers that were, you know, school teachers in the daytime, danced at nighttime. Girls going to
So
school, paying
all
for
walks of
college.
life, basically.
Yes, all
So tell
walks
me
of
about
life.
how the mindset when you're dancing, because a lot of people, some people aren't aware or educated on what, it means to really strip. So it's not just you dancing. Walk us through the dark life and the mindset of what you have to really endure when you're there, when you're in the club dancing, and how you have to feel while you're dancing, and the things that you saw and experienced. Tell us about that, because there are some girls who are watching who have considered it and who want to right now and may be stripping right now. I know a few girls who strip right now, and so for those that are not aware of the damage that it can do to you mentally, and the dark side of it, because the glamorous side, because I often hear a lot of people explain it like you just did. These people are in nursing school, they're this, that, the other, business owners trying to get ahead, different types of people, which that sounds like prominent women. So some that's attractive to some, because some people are like, well, I can do that. I'm an entrepreneur. I just need more money. So, and it sounds like you're making a lot of money and all I got to do is dance. That's it. Sign me up. So talk to us about the other side of it once you get in, and the things that happen or happen to you.
Okay, so if I walk you through one of my days, because every day is not wasn't a good day. Some days You got to prepare yourself to get, to go to work. I seen everybody. I seen every different walk of life. Um, there wasn't any. I didn't see, any abuse or anything, because the strip club actually has a lot of rules. People may
Okay.
not believe it, but there are rules in the strip club.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, uh, Needless to say, Indiana has um, what they may call, I don't know if I can say it, but I'm a
You can
titty
say whatever you
bars.
want. Yeah,
Okay,
you can say
they
whatever you
have
want.
titty bars. In
Okay.
Atlanta, it's you're naked. They're
Yeah.
straight. It's the first
Right.
song. The first song, you have your clothes on. Second song, you're taking off a top or a bottom, mainly the top, and then by the third song, you're completely naked. This is on a stage set,
Yeah.
but I don't knock it. Like, I respect dancers because I've been there.
Right.
So my whole mindset changed from when I walked into the building, may have been a little like, they dancing, or to now it's like, I'm just selling a fantasy. Some people go to work. I knew when I went to work, whatever happened in them four walls stayed in them four walls. So I was there to do my job. That's what I was there to do. I was there to either, sell a fantasy, or
Mhm.
some men may just want you to just your conversation, or to stand by and while they play pool, something like that.
Uh-huh.
In the dressing room, you may see a seamstress, a makeup artist,
Really?
a
Okay.
hairstylist.
Uh-huh.
Um, we had a shower. We also had a store. There's a house mom. Um, let's see.
So it was
Of
still, you
course.
still felt pretty safe while doing this, while
Oh,
dancing?
yeah, definitely safe inside the building. Yes,
Okay. So
definitely
tell
safe
me
inside the
about
building.
when and how you encountered the sexual assault, and if it was any relation to the dancing.
Actually, I cannot tell you that it was in relation to um, the dancing, because
Okay.
at the time the sexual assault happened, I had stopped dancing for about
Mm,
6 months.
okay.
So, but I did live in the area.
Right.
So I worked at a beauty salon. That one salon that I said was booming.
Yeah. Right.
By this
Uh-huh.
time, I had migrated from the other salon to the booming salon. So I had met the girls in the club, started build my clientele. Then I
Uh-huh.
would even go back to the club. I wasn't dancing anymore. I actually started dating a guy, and he didn't want me to dance anymore. So I left from working in the club to actually just being the girl curling the girl's hair, working
Right.
inside the club,
Uh-huh.
doing the hair. Then I went on to the beauty salon. Me and the guy ended up breaking up. I ended up going back to the club. I came home for about 2 weeks, and then I ended up going back to the club maybe about 3 months into it. So by the time the sexual assault and home invasion happened, because it was a home invasion that
It was a home
um
invasion.
yes,
Wow.
it was a
So
home
did you know the
invasion.
person who broke into your home?
To this day I can't tell you I did,
Mhm.
because I did the DNA rape kit,
Yeah.
and no one was ever arrested. But I'll go back to um when I went back. I had been working, maybe I maybe worked maybe like 2 weeks before this event. I mean, before this had
Mhm.
happened.
Okay.
My clientele had built back up. So um, I started dancing in '05. This incident happened in November of 2008. So it had
Okay.
been 3 years that I had been dancing on and off. Um,
Okay.
Actually, that day it was a regular day. It was a Friday. This weekend in Atlanta was a very busy weekend. It was the
Mhm.
hip hop, BET Hip Hop Awards weekend.
Okay.
So I had went and did an interview somewhere else. And my first client came for that day at like 3. I went, picked up my son and the neighbor's son from school, and dropped them off at her house. I went. Okay, let me backtrack, because what actually happened was I went to the salon first before it was time to pick the kids up at 2:30. So I picked the
Okay.
kids up at 2:30. But when I went to the salon, I was on this diet because I had gained weight from not dancing. So I had these lean cuisines at the shop,
Okay.
and I didn't eat pork. And the main reason I went to the house was because I had one to drop the kids off around the corner, but I went to the house because I had eaten a lean cuisine and it had bacon in it. So I
Oh,
was like, let me
pork
go
is
to the
sweet.
house. Let me go to the house and give me
Yeah.
another one.
Mhm.
So when I went in the house, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. It's kind of a rainy day. I noticed that there were no cars in the parking lot, but I really didn't pay it any attention. Um, I wasn't aware of my surroundings. I walked in the house. I was on the phone. I had just hung up with my mother, and I was talking to one of my friends, and I had told her, I'll call you back. So I
Mhm.
walked in the door. I noticed it was like some dirt on the floor, but I didn't pay it any
Inside the
attention.
house?
I over inside the house.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
Yeah, I had those plastic runners, and I noticed the dirt on the floor. And when I kind of looked at it again, I had a roommate. She was an older lady. She was actually the shampoo lady at the salon I worked at. And I'm
Okay.
thinking, well, maybe she came home. But then I'm like, no, she been gone since 8 o'clock this morning. You know, so she didn't come home. But it did none of this dawned on me until,
Mhm.
and I had left my purse in the car because the only thing was go put the food in the microwave, come back out. Those were my
Mhm.
only intentions.
Yeah.
I walked in, I put the food in the microwave, heard a ding, and I had those plastic runners. And when I heard something, and my kitchen kind of open, it had 2 openings. So when you walk in the house, there's the stairs to the side, then there's the
Uh-huh.
kitchen, and there's no back door. The back door opened to a patio. So um oh, uh I heard the noise and I looked to the left, and there was a guy with a gun to the left. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I could run around the other way. And then another guy came with a gun. So I was cornered by the
Mhm.
2 individuals with guns.
So there were
So
two guys there.
yes,
And so when you said that you heard the noise, because I mean we hear noises all the time in our house, and sometimes when you hear a noise, it's just like, oh, that's the window, that's the floor, that's this, and you don't really get anxious or scared. What was the second when you felt like you were in danger? Like when did you know that something was wrong? Was it when you heard the noise or when you saw the person? Like, did you have a feeling or anything about it?
actually, what happened was when I heard that noise, I don't know if you know what the plastic runners I'm talking about,
Yes.
but the little,
Uh-huh.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So when I heard that, it just automatically made me look, because
Yeah. Yeah.
I could tell it was a footprint. I could tell someone was there. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, got me feeling a little anxious right now. But uh,
Take your
so
time.
when I seen that, when I seen them, I'm like, wait a minute, instantly, wait a minute, no, you got the wrong
Yeah.
house. You are at the wrong house. I don't know, like, no, y'all got the wrong place. And they're like,
Mhm.
the exact words was, no, no, bitch, no, we don't. And so he kicked me to the ground. And when he kicked me to the ground, um, I actually, was like, no, this is ain't. You got the wrong house. He's talking about where the drugs, where the money, where the drugs, where the money. Nobody lives here but me, my 5-year-old, and my roommate. So
Wow.
I'm like, you have the wrong house. Needless to say, I was they took me upstairs. When they took me upstairs, they had already ransacked my house.
So they were already in your house when you showed up because that's where the dirt was from.
Yes. Now,
Woo. Wow.
yes.
Okay.
And
So
I would have
right,
never,
you
go
wouldn't have
ahead.
known.
No,
You
I
wouldn't
never,
have known. Yeah.
I would have never known that they were in the home because
Yeah.
it was a townhome and there was, like I said, one way in, and then there's a patio that went into a back door, but it went into an enclosed patio.
Do you know how
So
they were able to enter the home?
yes, after the fact, after the police came or whatever, we realized that they had cut the back patio. There's a screen on the back patio. They cut it. They cut the screen out, came through, knocked the window pane out. It was like one of those French door windows, knocked it out, unlocked the deadbolt. So that was how they were able to get in. But my apartment was the last apartment in the complex, and there was just
Yeah.
a lot of woods.
Right.
So there was no reason for me to go to the back door because we can't get in the back. You
Right.
know,
Right. So at this point, they take you upstairs and tell us about, what you were feeling as you were walking upstairs, what you were thinking. Were they did they have on mask? And before you tell that, if everybody can please share this live, this is getting ready to get deep, and everybody you know somebody, even if they don't know what they're going through, everybody knows somebody who has been through sexual assault. You never know who needs to hear this. So please share this video. So did they have on masks? What were you thinking and feeling when you were walking up the stairs?
they didn't have a mask. What they had on were bandanas. They had bandanas
Covering everything but
to,
the
yes. One
yeah.
had on a red bandana, one had on a blue bandana, and they had on hoodies. I do remember one. He had on a he had on a um, uh, I want to say Brooklyn, but it was a B hat, like the Brooklyn, New
Mhm.
York hat or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right. Right.
Um, it was navy blue. I remember that with the white B on it. Um, Also, I remember one was a light skinned individual, one was a dark skinned individual. The one with the Brooklyn hat on, he had on a Brooklyn hat. He had an East Coast. He did most of the talking. He had an East Coast accent. The other guy, the darker complected guy, he was more brown, but he had these real long eyelashes. I remember his eyelashes.
Yeah.
Um, Needless to say, they took me upstairs.
Mhm.
They blindfolded me, and as I just know that I'm about to die. I knew I had said my last prayer. You know what I'm saying? I thought was my last prayer.
Yeah.
And I remember that prayer to this day. It was just like,
Wow.
God, please let somebody find me and make sure that you let my kids and my mother
Mm.
know that I love them. But
Wow.
somebody please let my mother know, what happened to me. Because I lived there by myself, just me and
Yeah.
my youngest son were there at that time. My other kids were back in Indiana. Um, but I was blindfolded. I was tied up. Uh, and I was uh, the light skinned individual was the first one that um, raped
Assaulted.
me.
Yeah.
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 hmm
So what did they tie you up with by your hands? Did they tie you to something? Like how did they tie you up? And while they were doing this, were you screaming? Were you thinking? Were you pleading with them? What was going on?
I'm gonna tell you, survival mode came in. So when survival mode came in,
Yeah.
I did not scream. I didn't do anything. I just tried to think of what is it that I can do to make sure that this
Yeah.
man that they not kill me. So
Yes. Uh-huh.
I pretty much cooperated. I
Okay. Yeah.
cooperated, and being that I cooperated, um, I have to be very. I'm sorry, my daughter's here. She grown, but she don't know this story. But I'm just gonna say it.
Absolutely.
The light skinned individual, the other individual, he was in a whole totally different room. He's going in there now, by this time he's in my roommate's room and he's searching
Mhm.
through things. But when
Yeah.
I got upstairs, they had already been through all my drawers and everything. So when he tied me up, he tied a scarf around my eyes, blindfolded me.
Wow.
Uh Basically he made me perform oral on one while the other one had sex with me. He told the other guy, um, basically, hey man, come get you some of this. And then it was, I was violated. That guy violated me in another way. He violated me. Um, I would say sodomized, basically.
Yeah.
Um, uh, he leaves. At this point, after the dark skinned guy, he leaves. He takes the car. He goes to the store. Cause I'm thinking I don't have any. I got $60 in my purse. That's all I had on me at that time.
You said he
Like I said,
left.
he left, but the light skinned
One of the
guy,
guys left.
one of the guys left, the other guy stayed. At the moment in time, I did not know to give the pin backwards to the ATM.
Mm.
Basically, if you enter the pin backwards into the ATM,
Yes.
it
Right.
alerts. I didn't
Yes.
know that.
Right.
So the light skinned guy stayed. Um, and when he stayed, he was he wanted me to know who he was.
Really.
He kept trying to. I felt like he kept trying to tell me who he was without telling me who he was. He asked me, "Did you used to work in the club?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, you ain't ever worked in the club." And I'm like, "No." So he looked at my leg and he was like, um, "Oh, I seen that tattoo before." And I was like,
Wow.
"Nah," And then he ran down this whole story of who he was, and I just couldn't put it together. And then he never said who he was, but he ran down
Right.
this story
Right.
of events that had happened to him. Um, and the craziest thing was, while I was still blindfolded, because he did again have sex with me. Um, he he kissed me, and he said, "Ha, now you just kissed a villain." And it just kind of like, when he got close to me like
Yeah.
that, it made me feel as though I know him. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
what made me like, I don't know if I've given him a hug before. It was kind of like a dog has a sense, where a dog senses like they know something, or that just
Yeah.
made me, it was just like this something that came over me that was like, I know this person.
Right.
I can't pinpoint who it is, but I felt like I have encountered this person before. It could
Yeah.
have been a somebody that I seen on a regular, or somebody that it was just, hey, how you doing? Gave him a hug or something like that. But it was this person. It made me feel as though I knew this person. Needless to say, the other guy came back. Um,
What was
they
the
wanted me to.
time between the time that he left and came back? How long, was that, or how long did it feel like?
Shoot, it probably felt. It was probably about 20-30 minutes,
Wow. And
but
so,
it seemed like an eternity.
yeah. Hmm. So there had to have been some connection. It had to have been related somehow to the strip club, because he knew your tattoo. He asked you if you worked there, or he was following you, or like, what do you think is the connection as far as him knowing where you live, knowing where you worked? How do you think he came to that conclusion?
Well, everything was all in the same plaza. I lived in the apartments behind the
Oh,
plaza. Yeah, I
okay.
lived in the apartments behind the plaza. There's a barber shop right next door to the beauty shop I
Yeah,
worked at.
yeah.
So I was encountered with people. I mean, I encounter people every day. The
Right.
same, and some of them being the same people, because they, you know, they either lived or went to the club or was at the
Yeah.
barber shop or came to the beauty shop or could have been at the liquor store. Like it was everything was all in the same area.
Yeah.
So needless to say, like when they came back, they wanted me to get into the shower. I was scared if I got into the shower, they was gonna kill me.
Yeah.
So I was just like, no, I'm just gonna wash up. I'm just gonna wash up. So they actually stood and watched as I watched. I mean, watched me as I washed up.
What did that
Um,
feel like?
it was scary. It was scary. I'm telling you, the whole time I thought I was gonna
Yeah.
die.
Right. Absolutely.
I thought I was gonna die. I thought they
Yeah.
was gonna kill me.
Right.
So after all that happened, um, I was tied up. I put my clothes on. Um, they left, but they had switched. They switched their clothes.
They
At this
changed the
point,
clothes?
they switched their hoodies. Yes, they did. At this point in time,
I know.
they had there was a brand out. It was Black Label. These guys, they weren't just regular. I mean, they weren't just people off the street that you
Yeah.
would think. You know, these guys, they were nice dressed. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Nice shoes. But they switched their clothes. Which I found out later through the private investigator and the detectives, but that was to play a mind game on me by switching switching their clothing or things like that. But they had did this before. I'm jumping around. Okay.
That's okay.
So when they were exiting, they took the towel I used to wash up. One of them had smoked a cigarette. I believe it was the light skinned guy smoked a cigarette. The dark skinned guy, he was kind of standoffish. He didn't say much. He didn't do much. He was just more reserved. But the other guy, it was just kind of like he wanted me to know who he was, or he wanted I don't know. I don't know. Just even you kiss the villain. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy to me. Like
Yes.
why would
What
you?
was he trying to say? Why do you think that he wanted you to know who he was? Like, do you have any idea or any feeling why he would be so stupid anyway to do that? But wow.
I don't. And to this day, I mean, it's been almost 13 years. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I still wonder who,
Yeah.
why, you
Right.
know. And even if you was just they had already been through everything. They had already ransacked the apartment. So it was like I'm like I have said caught myself saying they didn't even get anything. And then I look and
Right.
I'll be like, yeah, they did. They took me. I'm not the same person. I'm definitely not
Yeah.
that same person I
Wow.
was
Yeah.
at 229. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. I'm not that same person. Anyway, they tied me up with the phone cord, and the dark skinned guy, the dark complected guy, he said, we're not gonna hurt you. We ain't gonna do nothing to
He said
you.
this when? When did he tell you this?
After this is after. He said,
After
we
he's
not
done all this and he's gonna
yeah,
say, you already hurt me. What is he talking about?
exactly. Yeah, he said, we're not gonna hurt you. Um, just give us 5 minutes to get out of here. And you can he asked me, okay, when he tied me up, he said, can you move? And he had put a belt and some phone cord and tied my hands behind my back. And he said, "Can you get out?" And I was like, "No, I really could, but I just
Yeah.
said no."
Right.
He was like, "That's when he was like, we're not gonna hurt you. Just give us 20. Just give us 5 minutes and let us go. I mean, let us get up out of here." They had taken my cell phone, and they had taken my purse, and the purse only had $25 in the purse, I believe, if I can remember at the time. So anyway, I actually gave him 20 minutes. And then I finally just ran downstairs. They told me where they had parked the car. Now, at this point in time, I didn't have a car. I was one of those dancers, and there's a lot of them that, you know, they make money, but you ain't got nothing to show for it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Like when it's good, but if you don't put your money back, you know, I met a lot of dancers, and I was a dancer too at times where I had to go and stay with somebody,
Mhm.
or didn't have a car because my car had got repossessed.
Yeah.
Um, but at that moment in time, I was using the girl's car whose son went to school with my son. But they took her car and they parked it like 2 streets up, not really streets, but you know, turn ins in an
Why?
apartment
That's so
complex.
stupid. So the one that left to go to the ATM, he parked the car and then walked back to where that is
Yes.
dumb.
And I was in the back of the apartment complex. So when I ran out the house and I found the car, because he told me on his way out where the car would be. I ran, my phone wasn't in the car. They did take my phone. Um, but when I went outside, that's when I noticed nobody was at home. Like, how is it that nobody is at home 2:30 in the afternoon on this rainy day? No one is at home.
Right.
So I end up going to going to the front of the complex where the beauty shop was, and I told my friend what had happened.
Mhm.
And I remember walking, and there was an individual on the sidewalk, and he was just like, "Tiff, you okay?" And I was like, "No." And I went in the shop and I told my friend what had happened. And I sat, I sat in the back of the beauty shop in this room on the floor. Um, it was like I was scared. I was just hiding until the police came. So
Yeah. So you called the
once
police from the shop from the when you got back to because you didn't have a cell
she
phone.
actually, yeah, she actually called
Right.
the police for me. And actually, when they came, they made me feel like I was the criminal. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I
Uh,
hate.
yeah. Um, we ended up going back to the apartment. They dusted and did printed for fingerprints. There was no fingerprints, and then they asked me, you know, did you notice anything? Um, they had gloves on. I did notice they had gloves, so that's what made me
Mhm.
feel like they've done this before.
They had to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did that before. So I said, hey, I said, I got towel, you know, they asked me if I took a shower. I was like, I did, I took a shower. Um, I was like, and one of them smoked cigarettes. When they get upstairs, there's no towels because they took the towels.
Wow.
Um, they took the ashtrays. They took, you know, there wasn't any cigarette butts. There was nothing left. So these were like professional B&E artists, you know, breaking and entering. That's how I seen it, because it was just like, who knew to do all of this?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they left nothing. Um, so I told them, I said, I have a computer. I asked the detective after we went through, um, and they did everything at the apartment. I'm like, hey, I got a computer downstairs on the couch. Will you get it for me? So he was like, 'cause I couldn't go back in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so he's like, what computer? There's no computer. So they basically, when I left, they went
They
back
took
in the apartment. So they had went back in and they took the like an iPad, and I mean an
Wow.
iPod and my computer. Um,
So why wouldn't they just take it when they were there, and then what would have happened if you still would have been there?
and you know what? I really can't say they took it after,
How did
because
they
they could have
come?
took it when they went. They could have took it when they went downstairs, and I was
And you just
still
didn't
upstairs.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know, but I know it
Right.
wasn't there.
Right.
So uh, we get back to the police take me back to the beauty salon. I go to the beauty salon,
Mhm.
and I go back in that room. That's where I'm actually in the room at that moment in time until I had even at this time it's probably 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I hadn't I hadn't called anyone, like my family. I had a lady, uh, Miss Debbie, she was one of my clients. Um, she actually came and hugged me, and they told her what had happened evidently, and she came and I don't know how she got there, but she came and she hugged me, and she just let me know that everything was okay. And
Yeah.
then I haven't even called my mom. Like it was just it was just so much going on at the time. I hadn't even called my mom, and then I had ended up calling my mother to let her know what had happened. And my niece ended up calling that ex-boyfriend, and that ex-boyfriend ended up coming and taking me to the hospital. We did a rape kit, and the next day, my best friend and her now husband came and got me, and I was back in Indiana. So,
Wow. So you
and I've
left the next
been,
day.
yeah, yeah, I did. A few months had passed. My aunt, she was an attorney here in
Mhm.
Indianapolis.
Uh-huh.
So I had ended up getting an attorney, and then she worked the case from here because I didn't go back there. I had my attorneys in Atlanta working with the private investigators and the detectives. Um, and basically, the detective, like I kept trying to get in contact with him because I'm like, you're eager. When you want somebody to be arrested when they do stuff like this.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah. So how did that make you feel? When I mean, because I had said earlier in the show when we had technical difficulties with your sound that we victimize the victims. It's like they're already victims. So why do we step on them and push them down further and make it their fault? Or so what were you feeling from the police? And everybody watching, if you want to go ahead and put your comments or questions in the chat, then we'll address all those as well. But what did that make you feel like? Here it is. You just suffered the most horrific experience of your life, and they're treating you like you did something wrong, interrogating you. What did that make you feel?
it made me angry, and it made me feel uh, ridiculed because, again, you know, it goes back to you being a dancer or you
Right.
doing whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, because I don't care if I stood on this corner butt naked. It does
It
not give you
doesn't
the
just
right
no,
for
right.
anybody to violate me,
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
or anyone else.
Yeah.
Um, the detective basically, he called me one day. It must have been like January. Again, this happened November 17th, 2008. So January, February 2009. Um, he calls and he says, "Hey, Tiffany," after I've been trying to get in contact with him. He was new to the area. He was from Detroit. Um, this happened in DeKalb County, Georgia.
Yeah.
Uh, he basically he wasn't answering. I couldn't get a hold to him. And I had another he was a Caucasian detective, but there was another African American detective as well on the case. I believe his last name was Adams. But he reached out and he was pretty good. Uh, but the other guy was just like he wasn't answering, returning calls or anything. And then finally he calls me and he says, I hadn't been with you. He was going through some family stuff. I don't remember exactly what it was. If his mother passed away or she was ill or something.
Mhm.
But he said, "I'm gonna have to close your case."
Wow.
And I said, "Was anybody arrested?" And he
Wow.
said, "No, no one was arrested." He said, "But we're not really closing it. We're just gonna put it in a hiatus or whatever." Uh, but basically, he closed my case. So when I was very upset. I was
Yeah, of
very
course.
upset.
Uh-huh.
Um, I spoke with my aunt that was an attorney about it, and then I also have an aunt that was a detective in Indianapolis as well.
Mhm.
And she was like, "No, Tiffany, he's closing your case. He's closing your case."
Wow.
And so I called the Georgia Bureau of Investigators because I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
how could there not be DNA? He's telling me there was no DNA found. And when I called and I spoke with the lady, I told her, I said, you know, I was a victim of a sexual assault and armed robbery. Um, and they always say, you know, even when he came to me, he was like a sexual assault. I'm like, no, I was raped, you know, raped. And then, but I guess for their term, sexual assault is what they use. The common, it kind of dummies it down for me, but because the reality is that's what it was. It was rape. Somebody took something
Yeah.
from you,
Right.
took you from you.
Right.
So I call, the lady tells me, she says, honey, I'm sorry to tell you this, but we still have rape kits on the shelf from August. So I know we haven't gotten yours yet. That was the most hurtful thing ever. Because
No, because if
that's
you
where I
ever
felt like,
had hope that something was going to be done, that was it. That was shattered. From August, and this happened November 17th.
yes. I mean, I'm sorry, October 17th. Yeah, it happened October 17th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a shame. And that's what I really hate, that, you know, we that have been victimized, our victims become victimized and get no closure. It
None.
just seems so unfair. It's just traumatic, and then it feels like there's no resolution and no closure. So how do you cope with it? Have you gotten any type of closure in any type of way, from the situation?
There's never going to be any closure until they've been arrested, is how I feel.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
my
how do you
has
move
been,
on without closure?
I have to just keep going. You know, I have to
Mhm.
keep going.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
faith is strong.
Yeah.
And I feel like God gave me another chance because I
Yeah.
really thought that was my last day. I
Yes.
really do. You know,
Yeah.
I even have a tattoo on my arm that reminds me every day I got some angel wings and a halo, because just to remind me that he gave me a second chance.
Yeah.
And um I ended up, you know, having a civil suit against my apartment complex, but that's still not justice. You know,
Yeah.
justice for me would be to see them behind bars for what they did to me.
Because they're
And
still out
then
there. Yeah.
yeah, and then I looked at it too as like, you know, God knows. God knows
Yeah.
who you are and what you've done.
Right.
So I might not never know what happens to them,
Right.
but God knows. You know, they're gonna have to answer to God
Yeah.
if they haven't already.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. So when something like this happens, do you live in fear for the rest of your life, or do you have triggers, like when you come home and see something out of place, or even just coming home and opening your door? Did it take you some time to adjust to that, hearing noises? What happens after you've been through something this traumatic?
I actually, I've been to counsel. I'm a believer in counseling and
Me
therapy.
too. Yeah.
Um, I had to do that. I reached out to Rain. I also found out that most rapes and sexual assaults are swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Um, at one point in time, when this had happened to me, there was really, uh, it wasn't like the things that they have now, where, for instance, the casting couch, where all those girls that may have been, you know, trying to make it in Hollywood, and now their predators went to jail. It wasn't like that because I felt like, you know, women are unprotected.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like, I don't know. They just, when I spoke with the organizations, they basically let me know that this happens all the time. There are a lot of rape kits that still sit on shelves.
That is
They do
horrible.
not take it, you know, into consideration. They don't really, it's not as, it's not really a crime. I'm not gonna say it's not a crime, but they, at one point in time, they did not see
They
it
don't
as
treat it like
being,
it's a serious offense.
exactly.
Yeah. So what would
Exactly.
you
There were
say
so
to
many unsolved, Georgia has so many unsolved rapes. Um, so yeah.
That's a scary thought. What would you say to women who have been in your position and been through what you have been through? What advice would you give them?
Um, to definitely seek counseling.
Hmm.
Um, I dealt with a lot of, I deal with post traumatic stress disorder. Um, I deal with being hyper vigilant, meaning I now, things I didn't pay attention to
Yeah.
then, I'm
Hmm.
more aware of my surroundings. I pay more attention to things now that the average person probably would not.
Right.
Um, I do. I carry a gun now. I used to not. I have everything. I had a dog. There's I just I'm more protective of myself now
Yeah. Right.
because there was time when I first moved back to Indiana, it was times I was traumatized. So there was times I just sit
Mhm.
in the dark and just be on the wall. Even just revisiting this, it just brings
Yeah.
back all these memories and all this anxiety. I would
Yeah.
drive around my house. And so my kids used to always be like, "Mom, you tripping? Ain't nobody coming to get you." Because I'm instantly, as soon as I walk in the door, I'm locking the door. Or I drive around the house 3, 4 times before I called and said, "Hey, I'm about to come in," because I was so paranoid or hyper
Right. Right.
vigilant of what could happen. Because when I went
Yeah.
in my own house that day, I didn't think no one would be there. Um,
Yeah, that is so. Have you ever, you know, thought about that? Like, what have you thought about the what ifs? What if I wouldn't have gone home? And how crazy it is that on this day at this time you had pork in your food, and that's what caused you to go home. Like, have you ever
mhm.
asked yourself, like, what if? And
Yeah, I mean, what if? But I mean, I can't take it back.
no,
It's
right?
something that
Yeah,
happened to me. It was
yeah,
something that I had to go through.
yeah,
Um, and I think I'll never be the same person again.
yeah.
I'll never be the same person. I always want a protector. You know what I'm saying? I do. I
Yeah,
always want somebody or something there
mhm,
to protect me because
yeah,
I feel like I can't get caught slipping again.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, I am
And you
around.
really weren't slipping. You were going home for a freaking lunch. That's it.
Yeah,
And it's like, how violating. I can't even go to my own home and eat without being attacked, raped, assaulted, tied up. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
And I just can't imagine that fear of, I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to walk in the house anymore. And if if I saw dirt on the floor, I would probably be scared to death. Like, how do you get through that? I know you said counseling, so I know all of that it plays a part in it, but you are strong to be able to even go into your own house again. Um, Even though you don't
well,
know who,
that
what,
I want to. I'm
oh,
sorry. I
sure,
want
go
to
ahead.
say something
No,
about.
go ahead.
Um, um, I couldn't even go back to the area,
Mm,
and um, I had great. I still have great friends there, but
yeah,
it took me a long time, about 2 years, just to even go back and visit my
yeah.
people in the
Mhm.
plaza or people that I knew.
Right.
I definitely didn't go back to the apartment. I
Mhm.
tried when it was time for me to get my things out. I tried, but it was just like some feeling that came over me and I had to leave.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Were you by yourself when you went?
no, I was actually with my ex-boyfriend at the time. He went with me to help pack,
Okay,
but
good.
I couldn't. It was
Yeah,
like soon as
yeah,
I got upstairs, it was just like a feeling that came up. I'm like, I can't do this. It was just
yeah.
like a cold feeling, and I'm like, I can't do this. I did like I said, it took me a couple years to actually go back to the
Mhm.
area.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I go back now because my friend's still in the lady that owns the salon, she's still in the plaza. I go and visit her.
Wow.
Um, But it took me, for a moment, I felt as though that could have um, made someone feel a certain type of way, because I may have went to Atlanta, but I just wouldn't go to the area. But it was not, it had nothing to do with anyone else. It was just me, myself.
Yeah,
It was my paranoia, or me just feeling like
yeah,
I'm not ready to go over
yeah.
here. I'm not
Rightfully
ready
so.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not ready to be in this area.
right.
Anybody that's going through it, like I know girls now. I'm around girls now that dance, or um even, just maybe out by themselves. And I'm very protective of other people as far as nighttime.
Yeah,
Nighttime, or it really doesn't matter anytime, but I think that someone should always be protected, or have a gun, or
yes,
um just say, be protected.
right. Absolutely. I can't imagine. It's. I mean, things like this never. It's never convenient. You never have a chance to gather yourself before something like this happens, because you just don't know. So I can't imagine the terror that you felt, just thinking, just
Can,
casually walking into your house thinking you were going to put something in the microwave. And then you see these two people come from both sides with a gun. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know what I would have thought, what I would have felt in that. I can't imagine what you went through. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. Um, and I hope and
can
pray
I
that, yes, uh-huh.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to turn the light on real quick, because I see it's getting dark. I'm
Okay.
sorry that let me do this real quick.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No problem. If you guys are tuned in, what a powerful, wow, and an amazing story. I can't imagine what she went through. Of course, there's more to come. We have some more to talk about and share. But while we are waiting for her to come back, if you guys have questions or comments or words of encouragement or anything that you want to say or ask, go ahead and type them in the chat right now. This is just, wow, been a powerful and amazing story. I can't even find the words to say how sorry I am that this happened to you. But I do want to say that I'm so proud that you made it through. Out of all the people, and out of all the times an assault, a rape, a home invasion, a violation happens, um, a lot of people don't make it. And for them to have guns, for there to have been two of them, you should not have made it. So the fact that you did is a testimony. I mean, that is something. Wow. Um, if you could say something to, try to be nice. I don't want to call them bastards,
Mhm.
but if you could say something to these two things, they're not men, so I don't know what to call them, but you could say something to them today, what would you say?
I definitely would let them know that um, I had to learn to forgive them so that I could be forgiven.
Wow.
Um, and they took a part of me that I'll never get back. Like, I'm not the same person. I'm definitely
Mhm.
not the same person.
Yeah.
Um, Nobody probably understands that when I say that, but me. But I'm
Yeah.
not the same. I'm not the same person that I was. Um, it's hard to explain that, but I'm not the same person. I'm
Yeah.
strong. I definitely am, but I'm not the same. I'm not the same person that I was.
Of course, it's
Yeah.
impossible to be. But I'm sure in some areas you're better, even though this was horrific, you've learned a lot, you've experienced a lot, and then other areas I'm sure it's a challenge, to get through. But in the end, you're going to be better. So I really do applaud you for even taking, because a lot of times, especially in the Black community, we are not given the tools for counseling. We're not given the tools for taking steps to becoming better. We're just basically told to sweep it under the rug and just keep going.
Right.
And
Right. That
so I
goes
really
back to,
commend you. Yeah,
I agree. That goes back to that what happens in this house stays in this house.
raising this house. Yeah.
Yes. And um, statistically, there are a lot of rapes. I'm not gonna say all of them, but there are a lot of people that have been raped or
Yeah.
sexually assaulted. They
Uh-huh.
have been victims of um, something that had happened to them before childhood, maybe
Yeah.
sexual assault,
Right.
um, child molestation,
Hmm.
fondling,
Yes.
um, and I learned that on my journey as well. That these things tend to happen uh, more often to certain individuals. Statistically, this is how
Hmm.
it happens.
Right.
It's kind of weird how it is, but it does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, uh, I just say to be cautious. You have to be very cautious and aware of your surroundings. You really do.
Absolutely. I agree.
And
I think
even
it's
when you think you
important.
are safe,
Safe. Yeah. Yes. And that's the thing, you can never think that you're safe, because you
yeah.
just never know. You can never be relaxed in thinking that you're safe so nothing can happen. You can feel safe. You shouldn't have to walk around paranoid and scared, but you do need to be aware of your surroundings. And even when you feel safe, you need to operate and act and move as if you're not. Be on guard all the time, because that's how people catch us. It's when we're
Hmm.
off guard. So I agree. So I'm so thankful that you made it through.
Thank
You
you.
have gone on to do some amazing things. Tell us about what you are doing now, what you have accomplished, and how you didn't
Uh,
allow this to stop you.
I didn't allow it to stop me because I love hair. I've been doing hair since I was
Mhm,
19. I'm now 43. I
mhm,
do own a beauty salon in Kokomo. I have a suite
mhm,
here that I rent out in Indianapolis. Um, I just started with an event center in which the event center actually, um, I deal with girls that are actually doing some of the things that, I deal with a lot of dancers. Um,
uh-huh.
and my main thing to them is I've been there.
Yes.
So I only try to be as transparent with them as um, I can be. Like I can only be real because I've been on both sides.
Absolutely.
Um, and I tell them, be safe, because I don't know why God put me back in this situation. I think I have my faith is so strong, but I
Yeah.
feel like I deal with a lot of individuals, young ladies, and I know that they can come from, they're just like me. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Absolutely.
one thing I will say is it's only temporary. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know every day I'm gonna speak for myself because I don't even want to bring anybody else into it. Every day I did not want to go to work.
Yeah. I bet.
Every day I did not feel like I should be doing this.
Right.
I didn't feel like my job was glamorous. Nowadays it may be more glamour. The money looks good, but reality is, you know, there's a process you have to go through to get this. The money it can be good, but again, like I said in my story, I had money, Then days I didn't have a car. Then days I
Uh-huh.
didn't have a place to live. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, I'm just it's the ugly truth. But
Mhm.
I ain't knocking nobody because I know it's a possibility that anybody can go from with the right tools, you can go from, anywhere, from the bottom up,
Absolutely.
or and you can also go from the top to the bottom.
You can.
So
That's a good point. You can. You can. And
yes,
we can never forget that, because sometimes we forget where we came from and where we can go back to. So that is so important. Thank you,
exactly.
Christina Green, for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us, finish telling us about the companies you own and
I
how
own
people
say that again.
can get in contact with you. How can they reach your businesses or patronize your business?
Okay, so for the beauty salons, I can be reached at Salon Tiffany Iman on Instagram. I go by Swift Tiff Styles on Instagram. Also, Salon Tiffany Iman Indy. Those are my Instagram handles, as well as to book. You can book me on Style Seat. They're all listed on my page, or Acuity. Um, I have a uh, rental property company. It's called Swift Investments.
Okay.
Um,
Is that where Swift Tiff comes from? Does it come from the Swift Tiff?
Everything, all my businesses come from Swift.
Okay.
Swift derives, as in high school, one of my friends, he used to call me Swift. He gave me
Uh-huh.
Swift Tiff was the name he gave me.
Okay.
I used to DJ, so that was my DJ too, Swift Tiff.
Okay.
And it just stuck with me. But
Yeah.
it's crazy how life goes, because he gave me that name in high school, but my initials are Tiff, Tiffany Iman Ferguson. So um, it just all came together. It's like
Yeah.
when you look at life, it's already planned out. Like God already has everything all planned out. We just
Yes.
put the
We
puzzle
just put in
pieces
the puzzle,
together.
yeah, with a piece of the puzzle. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
So
so much for being transparent about all of this, um and sharing your story, because so many people experience sexual assault. They experience rape, they experience abuse, and they either don't say anything, or they can't, or they feel like they can't, they feel trapped. But when you are transparent, you bring other people out of what they're going through. So I really appreciate your time today. I thank you for your story.
thank
And
you.
just thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Really
And I will
appreciate
say,
it.
I would like to end with saying that if you do find yourself in this situation, um, I would suggest that you do call the police. You do have a
Absolutely.
rape kit done. Um,
Absolutely.
you do reach out to therapists. Uh, RAIN is an organization that helped me find Prevail, which Prevail is in Noblesville, but Prevail they deal with sexual assault victims. It's a counseling center for sexual assault and rape victims.
Okay.
Um, uh, the Me Too movement. There are so many things and people that are willing to help you,
Yeah.
even the ones that, although there are people that will ridicule you and say, because I've heard so many different stories about, well, she put herself in that situation, or
There's no such
the
thing.
story's always, yeah, the story's always switched until you actually hear it
Yeah.
from the individual. um
Absolutely.
Everybody else had my story, but me,
But you,
and it
yeah,
was wrong.
absolutely.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
um I don't think you should be afraid uh to speak your truth, or um
And if you are, do it
there's
anyway.
somebody yeah, there's somebody that's going to support you. You can
Yes. There.
reach out to me. If
Absolutely.
anybody wants to just talk to me about whatever
Absolutely.
has happened to them, they can. Um,
Yeah.
I can
Victim
be
blaming.
found on Facebook, or under Tiffany Mine. I just try to be there because I was there.
Yeah.
I
I love that.
I know what it is, and I don't know why God has put me in this situation, took me through this, but I'm there to help whoever, may need it or just need to talk. If you just want to listen, want me to listen, or a hug, because it's serious. This is something that
It is.
women
It is.
deal with, women and men. I'm not going to say it just happens to women,
That's
because
true.
men are raped too, or
Yeah.
sexually assaulted. And it's kind of more, they're not really going to come out and say about it, talk about it as much as women may,
Mhm.
but it happens.
It does.
It happens. And it can start as early as being a little kid,
Yeah.
somebody playing house or whatever
Yes.
it is. It's still a
Yes.
violation.
Right. It is. Absolutely. It's definitely serious. Yeah. So thank you
It
so
is.
much for sharing
And it
that. And
doesn't
thank
need
you
to be
for
swept under the
being
rug.
here. No, it doesn't. And I like that you said that I'm there because I was there. That's
Yeah.
big. That's powerful. So thank you so much. You guys
Thank
know
you.
how to reach her. Thank you. You guys know how to reach out to Tiffany. If you don't, just inbox me and I'll give you her handles and everything that she shared today. But I just want everybody to know that sexual assault is a very serious thing and it shouldn't be overlooked. So if you or a loved one or someone that you even suspect is experiencing any kind of sexual abuse, then we encourage you to seek help. You can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline and be anonymous. You will be safe. Your story will be heard. You will be paid attention to, and someone will help you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you need help, reach out to one of us and we'll walk you through it. So thank you for tuning in today. Next week on I Survived, our special guest will be Danielle Norris. And Danielle has survived so many things that should have and could have taken her up out of here, but she lived to tell her story of how she survived death. But we want to hear from you. What have you survived? We want you to share your story with us as well. We would love to have you as a guest on our show. If you want to be a guest, email your story to the isurvivedshow@gmail.com. It's at the bottom of the screen, but again, it's the isurvivedshow@gmail.com. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Special thanks to our special guest today, Tiffany. We really appreciate your story and your powerful testimony. Thank you to our executive producer, Chris Green, and to all of you for tuning in to another episode of I Survived. We'll see you next week.